Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Quantum Recovery Podcast. I'm so excited today because I am touching on a topic I have not spoken about yet, and that is water. So, quantum biology, if you recall, is the study of light, water, and magnetism. So, talked a lot about light, talked about magnetism, and how we collect electrons, which negatively charges our body to be optimally healthy and function optimally circadian wise. We want to optimize our circadian rhythm, right? With the collection of those electrons. And in our modern world, just a little recap, in our modern world, we are always spending our electrons. So if we think of them as the currency of the body, we are spending them throughout the day. And when we get out in nature, when we get sunrise, when we get UV light, when we get UVB light, sunset, all that good stuff, feet in the grass, connected to the earth, that is magnetism. That is our body collecting those free electrons. So today we are going to talk about water. I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey and what I used to think about water and the importance. And then I'm going to tie in what I have learned from my certification in applied quantum biology. Now, when I say the beginning of my water journey, I'm actually talking about when I was about 10 to 11 years into my recovery from addiction. So, talking about like 6 years ago, roughly. And basically, it's pretty we don't need to probably dig into the research too much. However, I am planning on doing that of figuring out how dehydrated are we, like what's happening to our body when we're drinking or using. And we all know alcohol is very dehydrating. Pretty much any drug that you're going to be putting into your body, especially ones that are made of tons of chemicals. Like for me, for instance, I used methamphetamines for 12 years, was very dehydrating on my body. Now, there is argument that the general population as it is now is perpetually dehydrated. We're going to talk about that and how drinking bulk water, and I'll define that, isn't really hydrating us and what we need to do to our water so it's really bioavailable for our body to soak it up. So, in the beginning of my journey of learning about water, basically, you know, it was filter the water. Make sure you filter out all of the toxins. So, personally, in my home now, I have a reverse osmosis system. Now, this reverse osmosis system strips all of the toxins out. And we all know it's pretty common knowledge these days. Our tap water is quite poisonous. If you need to look into that in your area, I strongly suggest going on e.org. And this link and information is all on andiaray.com in the quantum pages underneath the water tab. You are going to find this resource. So the group that I cannot remember what EWG stands for some reason, so my apologies there, but regardless, I have the link for you. It's a tap water database. You plug in your zip code and it will tell you what is in your water. What are the poisons that are in your water? And that was definitely enough for me to invest in a reverse osmosis system. That was what I could afford at the time. And then remineralizing my water, because we know that if we are drinking water that's completely stripped of everything, we are actually drinking dead water or bulk water. And even, when we remineralize that water with remineralizing drops, it's still bulk water. It's just mineralized now. Now, if we don't mineralize it, that plain water will utilize any minerals in our body and, get them out of our bones and things. And we do not want our water leaching out what it needs out of our body. We do not want that. So this water is positively charged. And remember, the whole goal, guys, it's to collect negative charged electrons. So we don't want to be putting things that are positive into our body. And bulk water is that, or dead water. You might hear it be called that. But bulk water is basically the water we drink. So whether it's being filtered right out of your tap, what have you, that water is not healthy for us and it's not hydrating us. Well, that's a problem now, isn't it? We do assume when we drink a liquid water that it is hydrating us. So I want to explain about so that was the beginning of my journey. That's what I thought. Now, another thing is even prior to that, we all learned the traditional phases of water. Traditional phases are water is a gas or vapor, it is a liquid, or it is a solid, which is ice, right? And now we know through the research of Jared Pollack that we have a fourth phase of water. And that's the water that's inside of our body. It's another name for it is easy water. It stands for exclusion zone water. And that's because it will not allow anything into the cell like toxins and whatnot. So if you have a nice hydrated cell, our cells are a hydrophilic surface, right? So in our body, this easy water, this gel-like water, it's it's everywhere. And that's actually holding a charge, which is how we are voltage. It's not just the mitochondria making ATP that gives us energy, but it is this water that's giving us energy. And unfortunately, our environment, Wi-Fi, which I'm sitting in front of now, artificial light, it is dehydrating our cells. They're basically non-native EMFs are dehydrating our cells, and we need to. So how do we hydrate that easy water back up? How do we? How does the water we drink actually become useful for our body? And that's where structuring is important. Now I'm going to talk about ways that you can structure your water. And also, this is just such an introduction to water today because there are going to be guests coming on to the Quantum Healthy podcast, which is my other podcast I co-host with Laura Kissman. We are going to have guests talking about water. So I wanted you to kind of have a framework around water before we jump into some of those more detailed conversations with the researchers and people who have created some beautiful devices. And also, like my teacher, Carrie Bennett, she will be on in a couple of weeks. She's going to be talking about water. So I wanted you to have at least some kind of a loose framework here if you are not familiar with this topic through the lens of quantum biology. So the bulk water that's coming out of the tap, it's dead. It needs to be remineralized, and it also needs to be structured. So what does that mean, Andia? What does the structured mean? Well, water, we want it to organize and form in a beautiful way. We can actually do that with our intention, and we know about that through the research of, if you're watching this on, or if you're just listening to this, I'm holding up a book by Dr. Emoto called The Hidden Messages in Water. And we also know with the work of like Beta Austin, this crystallography that is happening is because of the intention put into the water. So like this researcher, Dr. Emoto, he words like love, hate, and things like this on water, or he played music. He would play like classical music, and then he would play like music that was, hardcore kind of music. And then he would flash freeze these things and he would get this picture. And whenever the intentions were of positive words or music, the crystals were very evenly formed and structured. And when it wasn't, well, when it wasn't, it was very disorganized and it didn't really form anything. It was very messy looking. And there's beautiful photos in the book where you can see this. Now, think about for a second so our bodies, first I'm going to say this, our bodies, remember, are 70% water, and they're actually molecularly 99% water. If you were to line up all the cells in your body, 99 out of 100 of the cells would be a water molecule. So think about when we're in recovery and we're learning about how to speak to ourselves better, getting rid of that negative self-talk, getting rid of the old belief system, the old paradigm, the one that we had when we were in our active use, kind of trails into our early recovery. And we do a lot of work. Maybe we see a therapist, maybe we do energy work or emotion code therapy or whatever we do to help ourselves kind of rewrite our story. You've heard me talk about this before. We're rebirthing ourselves in our recovery. Well, when we are, let's say we're swearing and there's bad intention behind that swear word, because we all know like we can swear, but there could be good intention behind that word. So that intentionality behind that, think about that. What is that doing to our body, our water in our body? It's imprinting that water. So we, I have a personal goal of, for instance, I've talked about this on past podcasts too. Like, I don't want to be swearing so much. I have a bad habit of swearing, and I being very mindful now that I know about this work and I know it at a more intimate level. I really do not want to be imprinting, not, unnecessarily just throwing around an F-bomb here and there for no apparent reason. I do not want to be imprinting that on my body. Our water can hear us. Think of it as, remember our mitochondria, our sensors, our mitochondria make easy water. Okay. So you're starting to see how all this is connected. So the light, water, magnetism, it's all connected. So when we talk about healing at a mitochondrial level, we're talking about this water that our mitochondria make. And when our bodies are inflamed and our electron transport chain isn't optimized, or we're not getting the right light signals, it really wreaks havoc. It's not, our cells no longer would have the ability then to efficiently and easily make this water. So there's all of that aspect. And now this structuring. So in order for us to actually hydrate our body, we want to structure the water because we want our water to at least be a neutral, if not even better, negatively charged. There are devices out there that negatively charge the water, like Dr. Robert Gourlay's MEA water device. He will be on the Quantum Healthy podcast in the future as well. And there are other resources that structure water on my website, andiaray.com, in the resources water tab. There's a wonderful company, Greenfield Water Systems. They have wonderful systems for the home. That's the next step I want to do personally, is get a water structure for the home. So this way I can avoid all the constant filters and all those kinds of things and just have that beautifully structured water coming into the home. Structuring the water goes through a specific process. I'm not going to get into that because we'll let the experts talk about that. But when the water goes through the structuring device, it neutralizes toxins where there's no need to, do a reverse osmosis system or anything like that, because you're able to get the benefits of that beautifully structured, organized water. It organizes itself in these beautiful hexagon shapes and it's still, moving. So this is the water we want to be drinking. Now we can buy fancy devices, sure, but this is not a podcast to say, oh, you need to go out and buy something. No, we can structure our water with our intention, just like Dr. Emoto taught us with his research. So that is putting intention. When was the last time you were drinking your water and you prayed over it? You put intention into it. You asked the water. Some people don't like the word prayer, so you can ask if you don't like the word prayer. So you praying over the water or just being grateful for it. Water also loves the color blue. You can simply put your water in a blue vessel and then put a sticker on it that says love or whatever you want to imprint into that water, and your energy and intention is going to also imprint that water. So I love the company Blue Bottle Love. They're in the resources tab on my website. Everything I talk about is just simply by having your water in there in a vessel like that is going to be structuring the water. So as you can see, there are things that you can do that are on, a scale of free to expensive. Another free thing we can do is there's findaspring.org, also on my website as a resource for you, next to the ewg.org website, and Environmental Working Group. That's what EWG stands for. And you can actually forage your water. So remember, water moves in a spring, right? It's moving. That is structured water when we find it out in nature, where it's very clear and pristine and beautiful. And also, depending on the area. It might be very beautiful blue colored. That's because of, I believe it's because of I don't know what form of magnesium. I can't recall the form of magnesium, but that's because that's present. So it will form this really beautiful blue green color. Just learning about all this stuff. It's so fascinating, but it's no wonder that water loves the color blue, right? Because that's what it's, in its beautiful natural state. That's one of the colors that it forms. I want to read you a slide from Dr. Robert Gourlay's work. And so he says, so when you consume, actually, this is Professor Kordakoff. He says, when you consume destructured water, it has a positive charge, your body must expend that energy to convert it to a negative charge. So Professor Kordakoff says most people are expending 50% of their energy every day converting positive charge water and food or cell water into a negative charge. Think about that. Think about all the hard work we do when we are out in the environment collecting electrons. Remember, our modern environment, we are spending electrons. So if you think of electrons as currency of the body, the money of the body, our modern environment, we're spending electrons. If we don't get outside and recoup some of those, that's going to really deplete our energy. And this is not talking about anything else here, like bioaccumulation of toxins or stress or anything like that. I'm just talking really simple. When you think about all those other things, there's even more layers, as you can see. Now that's pretty crazy. So if I'm going out and I'm spending all my time trying to collect electrons, I don't want to be drinking positively charged water that's using up that energy, because it kind of cancels itself out. Now, I don't know the numbers there because I am no research physicist, but I can only imagine that I do not want my free energy I'm collecting from the earth. I don't want the water that I'm drinking all day long to be sucking the energy from me. I want to have those most energy as I possibly can. And when you start connecting to nature, you are going to notice differences. You are going to notice that your energy is different. Like for me, like when I started regularly walking out in sunrise, I don't have a need to drink coffee in the morning. Do I still drink coffee in the morning? Yes, because I love a cup of coffee in the morning. But it is much after my sunrise walk and after I've eaten my breakfast and have done other circadian friendly signaling to my body. I don't even need that coffee right away. I do still enjoy it in the morning, but I don't need it right away. And that's a whole nother topic of why not to drink water or why not to drink coffee straight away in the morning, because it stresses out the body. It's not the greatest signal, right? But not to go down a tangent here, but I hope this little water introduction has given you just piqued your curiosity, given you a few things to think about when it comes to water and how important the water we really drink is. I used to just, take my cup, fill it up, and remineralize, and that was it. Now I do other things to my water to structure it, to put intention into it. And it is a beautiful process. I don't just think of my water as water anymore. It's something that's new. I want it to be nutrient dense for my body. How can our water be nutrient dense? It can be nutrient dense, if you will, by putting a negative charge in it, making sure that it's clean, making sure that it's structured. You can simply do that. I will leave you today with a resource, which is yourself, putting your own intention, your own gratitude, your own messaging into the water, and then drinking that water. I hope this was very helpful for you today. Coming up on the Quantum Healthy podcast, we will have Carrie Bennett. She will be talking all about water. I'm so excited for you guys to hear that. Also on the Quantum Healthy podcast, so remember, that's not this podcast, but my other one, is going to be Robert Gourlay, who is a researcher from Australia who created the MEA water device. He is going to be chatting with us, and I'm so excited for that episode too. So that's coming in the future. And if you have not checked it out already, do look into the Quantum Recovery Reset, because in that course, I have it very reasonably priced so everyone can have access to that information. This is foundational, so we can have an understanding of how our body really is working, how our body can start healing and understanding where is that happening when we say healing. That's happening at a mitochondrial level. It is happening at the quantum level, a subatomic level. And we do not need to be research scientists to understand this information. We do have we are empowered to learn this information. We're living in such a modern world. We have to unlearn some things so we can take in, how do we connect again to nature? Why were our ancestors they just intuitively knew this? They didn't need to talk about this, but we do, because we are living in a modern world that is literally sucking our energy out of us. It is dehydrating our cells. It's dehydrating our voltage, if you will. It's taking away our energy for us to be thriving, striving human beings in our recovery, in our life recovered, however you are forming that language. But you will notice that I am using different language than I have traditionally in the past, because I know that that's imprinting on my water. I'm telling my body I'm recovered. Do I still work a program? Hell yes, I do. And I know I am in recovery, but I am also not in the belief system anymore that I'm in a constant state of I need to heal. I am recovered, and I am growing and thriving and striving in my recovery every single day, healing one little thing at a time. Might not have to do with my addiction. It might have to do with other underlying health things that have happened to me in my body. And you are a unique individual, and you are going to have those things too. And this is not by any means medical advice. This is me educating you so you can actually take your health into your own hands. I want you to be empowered to do that. And this information that I'm bringing you on this podcast and the Quantum Healthy podcast is going to do that. I do hope you have liked and subscribed to that channel, and that you are also listening to the amazing people that are coming on and speaking about this, because I am there able to run questions by them through an addiction lens. Like, even if they're not addiction experts, these people are doing this beautiful work in the realm of quantum biology. And this is such a new science. We want to have and learn about this information and just apply it where we can and do what we can. And I want to empower you to do that. That is why I am here. So if you have any questions, do please reach out to me and ask. I am here for you. I always close my podcast with the phrase, drink water. The reason is because that is what I used to say at the end of every group. We would say the Serenity Prayer, and I would say, drink water. And that actually comes from a movie called Don't Worry, He Won't Get That Far on Foot. If you haven't seen that movie, it's real good. And that's I had shown that movie to the group, so we kind of took it as our little logo at the end of the group. Anyway, that term to me now means so much more than just drink water. It means to nourish and strengthen my body, to give my body energy back so it can thrive. So when I say to you at the end of every single episode from here on out, drink water, you know where I'm coming from. I hope you feel my energy and intention today. And I do hope that you join me in the future podcasts about water. I hope this was a nice introduction for you, just to start to learn about it a little bit. There'll be more to come. So with that, I will see you all next week. Drink water. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found value in this information. And if you did, please share it. Another way to support the podcast is to leave a 5-star review. If you want to connect, you can message me on Instagram or email me at andiaray@outlook.com. And remember, drink water.